Thank you. And just thank you to Gabrielle for everything that she's done this entire time. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much. So everybody, my name is Mike Nunez. As Gabrielle just said, I'm fresh off of a plane. I got up at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was in London, England this morning, talking to investors over there that I've met. They own 2,500 different retail, they have 2,500 retail clients, and that they're looking to use Frida on. And I asked them if I could talk about this, and they said yes. And they've agreed, or we have agreed to take 2 million pounds of investment from them. So we're really, really excited to announce that today. Yeah. So what is Frida? Frida is a conversion rate optimization technology that's powered by artificial intelligence. And the big problem is advertisers sending traffic. They spend tons of money spending traffic to their websites, but it only converts at 2%. So this represents 100 users, and only 2 are actually going to make a purchase. That said, you pay for all 100, and there is no refund on the 98 that didn't make a purchase. So what do you do about this? Either A, you go and you spend more money on your marketing, but inefficiently so, because your website isn't converting as much, or you hire an outsourced conversion rate optimization company that's going to go in and make manual adjustments. And that's currently the best practice today. The problem with that is that they can make only static optimizations to your website. And so we thought there's got to be something that we can do that's better. How can we use artificial intelligence to make this? And so we're going to introduce today Frida.ai. So with a very simple line of code that any advertiser can add to their website, Frida can start accepting signals, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. But it's super easy to install. We're already making a Shopify app to make it available to Shopify has 257,000 shops, with 25,000 of them make over $5 million per year in sales, and that's who we're going to target. We're also making it available as a WordPress plugin. So let's talk about what Frida does. I'd like you to meet David. When David goes to Zen Sleep, one of our current clients, he may have clicked through on an ad on Facebook. Frida can adjust these non-personally identifiable signals, such as he's browsing from work, he's in Orlando, he's using a Windows 10 operating system, he's on the Chrome browser, this is the fun part. Based off of his mouse movements, she can predict how old he is and what gender he is. And she takes all those things and puts them to what we call a customer profile to show the right thing to the right customer at the right time. So one example is if David, he sorted his products by most expensive to least expensive. That's going to be a signal to us that he is what we call a quality shopper. And if that's the case, if David's signaling that he's about to leave, we're going to show a booster. We're going to say that this is the top-rated product, engaging his flight or fight response, bringing him back to the page, and increasing the overall conversion rate of the site. And the more that Frida is on the site, the longer that she lives there, the better she gets at predicting what these customers are actually going to do. These are the results. You can see how fantastic they are. So we always start with a smaller audience to prove out the concept. This bottom row is what we call the control group. Basically, that is untouched. Untouched, the conversion rate on this site is 1.24%. The top row is what we call Frida optimized or boosted. They convert at 1.9%, and these are completely separate, randomly selected, and even tracked by a third party, so it's not us declaring that it's better. That's a 53% increase in their conversion rate for this site. So you can see here the increase that it has on their bottom line. Just a 10% increase in conversion rate equals a 35% increase in net profit. And we get paid a percentage of that increase. So we like to say we pay them, and here's what I mean by that. So once they implement Frida and they see a higher conversion rate, even going from a 2 to a 2.2% conversion triggers that 35% increase in net profit. So if in the case that they made $70,000 extra because they made $200,000 otherwise, we get a piece of the $70,000 increase, so 10% of that. We walk away with $7,000, they walk away with $63,000. Now, I mentioned that we always have a control group. The advertisers will always be able to say, if I remove Frida, this is what I would drop to. And if they wanted to save the $7,000 that they were paying us, they'd also have to forfeit the $63,000 extra that they were making. So we have an enormous TAM. It's 1.5 trillion in global online sales, giving us at 10% of a 10% increase, a $15 billion TAM. Now this is just e-commerce. We can be applied on absolutely any site that has some level of goal conversion. But just for this, we restricted it down to just e-commerce. In the US alone, we have $450 billion in revenue, in sales online. 10% of 10% of that gives us a $4.5 billion SAM. But we're starting just small and expanding. Just retailers in the US that make under 50 million in annual revenue, and that gives us 1.5 billion in total sales. 10% of 10% gives us a $15 million SAM. So you can see there's other competitors that are doing things that are similar, but nobody offers the complete solution, and absolutely nobody offers success-based pricing like we do. So the team, Cynthia Rodriguez, she worked at Book It when it was a startup as their marketing manager. She also started a podcast for women that has over 100 episodes. I really encourage you to listen to it. Lewis served our country in the US Army as an attorney. He also created a Shopify app that's used by over 1,000 stores right now and is a Starter Studio graduate. And me, I worked at Google for 4 years working with advertisers who spent over $100 million per year. They had this problem. That's where this came from. I've also been in online marketing for 18 years. So this is our current profile. These are the customers that we have. We have 50 companies in the pipeline. A lot of these came from my prior relationships, and then these 4 partner agencies, and I'll explain what they're doing in a little bit. This is our go-to-marketing plan. These conversion rate optimization agencies, we're using them as our onboarding companies and also as an external sales force. What are we going to use the money for? $50,000. We want new customer acquisition. We haven't had somebody say no yet. So we need to get more people in front of more people because we just feel like it's a no-brainer. Everybody wants to pay on a performance basis to increase their net sales. And then we need a little bit of client onboarding. This is our projections. In 3 years, we expect to be at that $15 million run rate. And, I just want to end by saying this is so difficult for advertisers today. Either they're too small and they don't have a technical team to implement this. Frida solves that problem. Or they're too big and their tech team says this is going to be a 9 to 12-month queue before we're able to implement any of the changes that you want. And Frida solves that problem. So this is truly an enterprise solution for absolutely any advertiser online. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I think he's going to have his team join him on stage, and then we'll move into questions from the judges. So whoever wants to get us started here.
No, it's not on.
I can hear you, though.
It is? Oh, okay, good. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Question for you. I didn't quite get how you measure the performance side of the financing, or at least the service you're providing. Can you go through that a little bit more?
Sure. So in the beginning, let's say we have a 10% of the audience that we completely split out, and we only optimize that 10%. We can separate them randomly, and we can treat them differently by either cookieing them or declaring that this is that particular user. That way they never cross over into both.
All right, so you
buckets.
actually cookie that particular client or customer, and then you can see whether they convert or not.
That's exactly right.
Okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Your gain sharing model,
Yes.
how long does that last? Is it indefinite, or what's the contract?
Yeah, it's indefinite, and the reason why it's so powerful is because of what I mentioned. If they ever wanted to remove Frida, they're forfeiting 9 times as much in revenue that they're making than they are paying us. So it's an extremely sticky model.
So walk us through again the conversion enhancement?
Sure. So you want me to go back to that slide? Yeah. So based off of the customer profile that we get, and we get way more signals than this. For example, if David sorted from price low to high, we know he's a value shopper, right? And so we can get all these different things. So in this example, he's about to leave the site, and we're predicting that using our browser-based artificial intelligence. And this is going to pop up here on the actual site and declare, hey, this is our top rated item, and that's going to cause him to come back to the site and take a look at that. There's other things we can do. One really good example that I like to use is, in conversion rate optimization, you can have a red button or a blue button. I'm just using that as an example. And let's say based off of testing, the red button performs better 70% of the time, and the blue button performs better 30% of the time. Well, today with the conversion rate optimization companies, you have to pick one, and of course you're going to pick the red. It's better 70% of the time. With Frida, you can show the 70% the red and the 30% the blue. So you can completely optimize across everybody that's coming to your site.
So let's take this guy, and you didn't bring him to the site, right?
Correct.
You did some background, and you know a little bit more about him. But if the performance piece, if this client went away, he doesn't go away.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. But their conversion rate drops, let's just say from 2.2 back
Okay.
to 2.0.
I got it.
Because
Okay, I get it.
we're
Okay.
not
Yeah, all
optimizing
right,
them
fine.
anymore.
Got it.
How
Thanks.
statistically relevant is that?
Yeah,
enhancement?
to 5.9, so 99.999. Yeah.
And how do you determine the profitability? So if you're taking 10 of 10,
Yeah.
how do you figure that out?
We're installed completely on the site, and I'm sorry, I'm answering all this, but I can hand over if you guys want to hear from these two great people. But we're installed completely on the site as well as on their thank you page. So we actually get all the data. And so on our dashboard, they can see this here, and actually we can have an actual dollar amount that they can see the increase that they got. If you mouse over.
Yeah, but profit. You said profit. How do you know what the profit?
Yeah, we take 10% of the increase in sales, right, which is basically ties directly to revenue because they're making that much more, right, in sales, and it's directly proportional.
So with regard to sales, what does it cost you to acquire $1 worth of revenue?
What does it cost us? So far, it's just been me on the phones, so we haven't had any direct advertising yet. And we're also, excuse me, we're also leveraging these relationships with these partner agencies. So they're on a performance base also down here. So basically, we let them be our external sales force. We get 10% of the increase. They get to mark that up as much as they want, whether or not they want to charge a monthly fee or a percentage above it. So we haven't had to pay them anything out of our pocket. So today it's been effectively zero.
So how do you scale it? I mean, how do you scale it rapidly?
Yep, absolutely. Get more of these companies doing exactly this. Also, it's why we need some investment from other people, because we need more people to be outward salespeople so we can go directly to some of these clients, as well as have the people internally to onboard those actual clients. Yes, Kathy? Correct. Yep. Well, because remember, they're doing it anyway already today. So basically what they're doing, let's say Frida wasn't there, they'd still be selling those exact same items. They'd just be selling it at a lower rate. With Frida on the site, they're selling, again, those exact same items, but yet at a higher rate. So it makes it more effective. There's a reason why they mark those down if it was a clearance item, because they want to get it off their shelves. And to give us a percentage of the increase to sell more of them is great. However, if for whatever reason they didn't want to do that, we have built-in filters. We can filter out any level of product, any category, anything to that effect. So we can absolutely, if we can do a search for example, if filter equals clearance, don't show the optimization and not even touch it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, great presentation, by the way. Just one of the important slides you glossed over right in the back, the financial slide. So can you put that back up again? Right, the last one. And my direct question to you, I sort of looked at that very briefly here, is I'm not certain on that. Where is this? The number of customers, the expenses. How much capital are you looking for now? Congrats, by the way, on the news that you started the presentation with, right? So I'll pretend with how much money are you looking for to get the business to the next level, and what's the offer? What's the deal?
So as you saw from the TAM slide, our opportunity is endless. Really, our problem is not opportunity; it's prioritizing the opportunity. And so we can keep going as we are today and continue down the road that we are, and we still feel like we'll hit this forecast. That investment that I'm talking about earlier, that happened earlier today, is going to certainly accelerate that dramatically. And so we had to turn this in on Monday, so I couldn't put that on, on this slide. But yeah, so we feel like anything is going to help us actually accelerate our growth, but we'd be completely fine today.
Of the $6 million in expenses, do you have an idea of the breakout between sales, operations, and technology?
I'm sorry, where are you seeing? Oh, here. And yes, it's going to be. This is off the top of my head, but I believe it's heavier on the tech side because right now, while we have a brilliant developer in Lewis, we certainly are going to need to be able to scale this. And by the way, just a quick aside. We're live on TonyRobbins.com. If you're not familiar with him, he's a motivational speaker. And when we first went live on his site, we got inundated with traffic, and we couldn't handle it. And so Lewis, within, 4 days, redid our complete architecture to where we're able to handle it without impacting the client site. He gets something like 10 million visits a month. So it was just so much data that we didn't think that we could handle. But again, we were able to pivot within 4 days.
Michael, I think you sort of glossed over the Clay's question about scaling. All right, so you've got to get in front of a lot of online sales or just retail operations, right? So I see that. I mean, your response to him was, you need more customers like this. Yep. Tell us how you're going to get more customers like this.
That's where these relationships are coming in. Today, this is our external sales force and onboarding team.
Okay.
Where Frida is visible to the client, but it's simply a tool that these agencies, these partner agencies, are leveraging to increase their revenue.
And what do you pay them?
They actually get to take a markup on what we get paid. So we just charge an implementation fee and then a 10% of the increase in sales. If they want a higher implementation fee,
and so they mark up that.
They can mark
fee.
up
Okay.
our fees. Yep. So we don't pay them anything. They mark it up themselves.
All right, let's give Frida a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to ask him how many of those.